At 49, Kate Winslet breaks silence about the Titanic set secret fans never knew. Titanic's door scene has been argued for 26 years. Was there room for two? Could Jack have survived? Now, Kate Winslet has revealed something far more shocking. That entire moment was staged in shallow water, and Leo wasn't dying, he was kneeling. The illusion fooled the world, but what no one realized was, it wasn't just the water that was fake. Chapter 1. Did this scene fool the world? It was 1997. Titanic hit theaters and never left pop culture again. Directed by James Cameron, it wasn't just a movie, it was a phenomenon. 11 Oscars, over $2 billion at the box office, and a love story that left millions sobbing as Jack slipped beneath the freezing Atlantic, whispering, "Never let go." But the moment that embedded itself in our collective memory, that floating door, that piece of wood, Rose, safe and shivering, Jack clinging until the cold claimed him, and for 26 years, one question refused to die. Was there room for Jack? The debate became legend. Talk shows analyzed the frame. Fans drew diagrams. Even Mythbusters built replicas to test buoyancy. The consensus? Maybe Jack didn't need to die at all. But what no one asked, what no one considered, was this. Was that moment ever real to begin with? Leonardo DiCaprio, the man who played Jack, always dodged the door question. Every time a reporter brought it up, he rolled his eyes or laughed it off. Director James Cameron? He snapped. Jack had to die, he once barked. It's art, not physics. But Kate Winslet, for decades, she said almost nothing. She gave us nostalgia, she gave us grace, but whenever that scene came up, she deflected, until now. I felt like I had to look a certain way, be a certain thing, and my life was quite unpleasant. Kate Winslet to Porter. It wasn't just the emotional weight of her role, it was the fame tsunami that came after. She was 21, Leo was 22. One day she was a rising British actress. The next she was on magazine covers worldwide, hailed as the face of tragic romance. But behind the scenes, Winslet admits she struggled. The spotlight magnified everything. Her looks, her body, her voice, and no matter what roles she took afterward, people still saw her as Rose. Her identity had fused with the myth, and that's why her silence on that scene felt deliberate. Because how do you critique the very moment that made you? In past interviews, she offered polite comments about filming in cold water. She giggled about the kiss scenes, but she never answered the real questions. She never broke the illusion until a casual Q&A in 2023, when Kate Winslet finally cracked open the myth. And what she revealed, it wasn't just a behind-the-scenes tidbit, it was a complete dismantling of everything fans thought they knew. Was this scene always just about fiction, or had Kate kept something hidden all along? That door scene wasn't about sacrifice, it wasn't even about survival, it was something else entirely, something artificial, something staged. I shouldn't be saying this, she laughed. Jimmy Cameron's gonna be ringing me. But buried under all the headlines was a secret only a few insiders knew, and Kate just let it slip. This story took hours to uncover, and trust me, it's just the beginning. Subscribe now so you don't miss what's coming next. Chapter 2. Jack was kneeling in shallow water. It happened so casually it almost didn't register. During a Q&A session in New York for her new film Lee, Kate Winslet leaned into the microphone, smiled, and dropped a bomb that instantly shattered one of Hollywood's most sacred illusions. To burst the bubble, it was waist height at that time. Wait, what? Yes, the final heart-wrenching moments of Titanic, where Jack and Rose are clinging to life in the freezing North Atlantic, was shot in a waist-high tank. The cold, the danger, the endless depth of the sea? Fake. And then she doubled down. Leo was kneeling down. Jack Dawson, the man we watched slowly sink into the icy abyss, was kneeling in shallow water. It gets worse. Kate admitted that in between takes, she would simply step off the floating plank, stroll across the tank, and use the restroom. No hypothermia, no panic, just a quick 20-foot walk and a leg swing over the edge. "Can I just go for a pee?" she recalled asking between takes, laughing. "It's terrible. I'd get off the door, walk to the edge of the tank, and climb out. Then I'd just come right back on." She wasn't kidding. This wasn't the freezing nightmare we imagined. It was a carefully controlled setup, a stage illusion dressed in heartbreak. "I shouldn't be saying this," she added, trying to hold back a grin. "Jimmy Cameron's gonna be ringing me." Was the most tragic love scene in cinema history nothing but clever camera angles? Turns out yes. The tank itself was what filmmakers call an infinity tank, designed to give the illusion of open ocean with constantly flowing water at the edges. To the camera, it looks endless. To the actors, it sounded like a rushing faucet all day long. That meant none of the original audio could be used. Kate revealed, "You could hear the constant sound of water the whole time." And because of that, the final 22 minutes of Titanic, yes, the entire ending, is completely looped in post. Every gasp, every whisper, every tearful goodbye you heard, re-recorded months later in a sound booth. That moment when Jack tells Rose she must survive, it didn't happen there. It happened in a studio with headphones and a script. Think about that. We believed the ocean was swallowing them whole, that Jack was freezing to death for love. But the truth? He was kneeling in a tank Kate could step out of between takes. They weren't in the sea, they were surrounded by set walls and lighting rigs. And yet, we all fell for it. Hook, line, and heartbreak. Because James Cameron made us believe it was real. Because Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio sold every second. That's the power of cinema. That's the magic of illusion. And now, it's been exposed. But even that wasn't the whole story. Because what happened next shocked even Kate herself. Chapter 3, Kate missed Titanic's biggest red carpet. Everyone remembers her on that door. No one remembers where Kate Winslet actually was when Titanic first premiered. While millions watched her float in frozen waters, sobbing over Jack's lifeless hand, Winslet herself wasn't on the red carpet. She wasn't in a glamorous London theater, soaking in praise or posing for photos. She was in a hospital bed. "I had terrible food poisoning," she later revealed. "I was actually in hospital in London." The London premiere, the moment she was supposed to become a global icon, came and went without her. No cameras, no press, just IV fluids and nausea. And when the film premiered in the US, it was somehow even worse. "I was at the funeral of a boyfriend," she quietly admitted. "I missed everything around the release of Titanic." Let that sink in. The most iconic film of her generation was exploding across the world, but Kate was in mourning. She didn't attend a single premiere. She didn't experience the audience's first reactions. She wasn't part of the frenzy. Instead, she slipped into a public theater in New York City, disguised and unnoticed, and watched it with strangers. No security escort, no designer gown, no interviews, just grief, just shock, and a haunting realization. Her entire life was changing on a giant screen, and she wasn't even part of it. That was the moment she truly saw what Titanic had become, and she wasn't prepared. She was just 21, barely older than the character she played, and suddenly, the world saw her as Rose forever. The pressure to live up to that image was suffocating. Everyone remembers her on that door, but no one remembers the girl who was falling apart behind the scenes. The fame came crashing down fast. Tabloids dissected her looks, her weight, her clothes. Talk shows joked about the door scene. Photographers followed her through airports. It wasn't the dream every young actress imagines. It was a trap. It wasn't a burden, but it was unpleasant, she confessed years later. "I felt like I had to look a certain way." The same girl who had poured her heart into portraying one of cinema's greatest love stories was now being body-shamed on magazine covers. She didn't have a team of image consultants. She didn't have Hollywood parents. She was just a working-class girl from Reading, suddenly branded an international movie star, and the expectations were brutal. And through it all, she kept quiet. No tell-alls, no media fights, no emotional breakdowns on camera. She kept it professional. She smiled through interviews, she played the part, but beneath the surface, she was exhausted. That's why her recent revelations matter, because for the first time, she's giving herself permission to tell the truth. Not just about the door, not just about the tank, but about what it cost her to be Rose. But if you thought that was the whole emotional toll she carried, it wasn't. Chapter 4. Was Titanic's romance just movie magic? Why wait 26 years? Why stay silent while the world debated the door, rewound the kiss, and turned Titanic into cinematic scripture? Most believe Kate Winslet finally feels secure enough to laugh at the past. After all, she's carved out a powerful career far beyond Titanic. From the reader to mayor of Easttown, she's no longer defined by one shipwrecked love story, but insiders whisper something different. That Kate Winslet didn't just grow tired of the Titanic questions. She resented how deeply the film invaded her public identity. The world didn't just fall in love with Rose. It projected that same fantasy onto her. And yet, despite the chaos, their chemistry convinced the world. But behind that iconic chemistry was something far less romantic. In a revealing interview with Vanity Fair, Winslet broke the illusion wide open. "He's quite the romancer, isn't he?" she said of DiCaprio. But it was not all it's cracked up to be. She wasn't being cruel, just honest. The famous "I'm flying" scene. That moment when Jack lifts Rose at the bow of the ship as the sun sets behind them. A complete disaster. The lighting kept changing. James Cameron wanted the perfect golden hour glow. The crew had minutes, literally minutes, to get each take. And Leo and Kate, they couldn't stop laughing. "We kept doing this kiss," she recalled, "and I had so much pale makeup on. Between every take, she had to wipe Leo's face clean, her foundation rubbing off on him, making him look like he had frosting smudged across his mouth. I looked like I'd been sucking a caramel chocolate bar after each take," she joked, and Leo just had this big pale bit missing from his face. They reshot it 4 times, struggling with makeup, sunset timing, and non-stop giggles. Cameron was getting tense. The moment that would define their legacy was, ironically, a mess. And that was just one scene. The rest of the shoot? Cold, wet, demanding. The water tank wasn't romantic. It was exhausting. She chipped her elbow. She caught the flu. She couldn't hear over the water machines. And still, she kept showing up. She never told us how hard it was. She never exposed the chaos. Why? Because she was loyal to the art, to the myth, to the team. She protected the illusion, even when it overshadowed her. And now, as she laughs about Cameron calling her for spilling the truth, you can hear something else in her voice. Relief. "I shouldn't be saying this," she teased at the Q&A. "Jimmy Cameron's gonna be ringing me." For the first time, it feels like she's allowed to reclaim the story, not as Rose, but as Kate. Not as the fantasy, but as the actor who gave more than we ever realized. But even with all these behind-the-scenes truths, some say this wasn't even the darkest secret they kept. Chapter 5, the door scene was entirely fake. So let's rewind for a moment. The ocean that haunted our childhoods? It wasn't deep, it was waist-high. The man we watched freeze to death for love. He wasn't floating, he was kneeling. And the woman who broke our hearts with that whispered goodbye. She wasn't trapped in a tragic scene. She could step off the door, walk 20 feet, and go to the bathroom. The illusion that made Titanic timeless was held together by clever angles, looping audio, and a whole lot of pretending. And Kate Winslet, she never saw it with the world. She never walked a red carpet for the premiere. She was in a hospital bed in London, sick and alone. Then in New York, grieving a boyfriend she'd lost. "I was at the funeral of a boyfriend," she said quietly. "I missed everything around the release of Titanic." Her breakthrough moment played out in front of millions, while she sat in a dark theater, anonymous, heartbroken, watching her life change in real time. For decades, she said nothing. She smiled in interviews. She answered questions politely. She laughed along about the door, but she never revealed what was really going on behind the scenes. Until now. Maybe that was the universe's way of protecting me, she reflected, reminding me to do the things that matter. She wasn't just talking about missing the premieres. She was talking about surviving the pressure, surviving the expectations, and most of all, surviving the image that the world carved into stone. Because for all the beauty of Titanic, there was a price. Kate Winslet was 21 when it happened. She's 49 now, and for the first time, she's giving herself permission to be honest, to laugh at the myth, to tease the truth, to finally tell her version of what happened on that set. And yet, this might only be the beginning. If the ocean wasn't real, if Jack was kneeling, if even the sound of the water had to be faked later, what else was staged? What other secrets did James Cameron bury for the sake of movie magic? Could Leo or other cast members come forward next? Winslet hints at more. Her tone is playful, but underneath it, there's something else. A quiet defiance. A woman taking back the narrative after decades of being frozen in time. The film may have ended with Jack slipping beneath the sea, but Kate Winslet, she's finally rising to the surface. And the next time you watch Titanic, you'll notice it. The faint grin in her performance. The way the light shifts too perfectly. The stillness of the water that suddenly feels too calm. You'll remember Jack was kneeling and Rose was ready to pee. And if even half of that is true, it changes everything we thought we knew about the greatest love story ever filmed. But some insiders still claim there's more waiting to be uncovered. So now that you know the truth behind Titanic's most iconic moment, just wait until you hear what Leo's been hiding. Click the next video on your screen, because if this shocked you, the next one will change everything you thought you knew about him.